What? Are you guys ready for this? I am here with none other than BP, a.k.a. Big Pudewa.
Oh, come on. I've been called a lot of things, but never that.
Okay, so, Mr. Pudewa, sir, give us some skinny about yourself. How long have you guys been homeschooling?
Well, I finished because my youngest child just got married last month. But if we figure it all out, probably was 30 years.
Wow! And what would you say the biggest highlight of your homeschooling journey has been?
Having grandchildren. And watching my children start to homeschool their children.
Oh, that's great. And,
Yeah.
and what's been that impact?
I don't know. They're just getting started. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. That's excellent.
But
Go ahead.
you see, it's so great having adult children because then you look back and you're like, all those things that seemed important weren't really all that important. Like whether you finished the algebra book by May. Right. Who really cares, But the really important things and relationships and vision and faith. And so seeing those strong and continuing generationally, that's what's great.
That's awesome. What would be the biggest advice that you would give to homeschooling moms and dads out there?
Just read good and great literature to your kids every day. The more I'm at this, the more I realize it forms the moral imagination. It builds the language skills that are going to be critical in all of the, everything else in life. The listening, the speaking, the reading, the writing. And I don't think we get enough of it, especially today when kids are so easily distracted by the screens in their life. I was saying earlier, it used to be you'd go to a homeschool event and you'd see, kids were always carrying books. They're waiting for their parents, they're doing this, they're always carrying. Now it's rarer to see kids with books, and you see a lot of kids with screens. And so just the general literacy, we have to fight for that. Which is one reason why I love to see so many kids getting more excited about literature in classical conversations, because that's such a big part of it, the great books in the liberal arts.
That's great. And what would you say, what are some trends or some themes that you see in homeschooling families that resonate or that are consistent among homeschool families as you travel all over the country and all over the globe? Is it like what are some themes that you see expressing
in
themselves?
terms of like things that are consistent, that work well, that help people?
Yes.
So the good things.
Sure.
Not the.
Well, I want to hear some bad things too.
I've been recently. I was in New Zealand, did a 6-city tour, speaking to homeschoolers in New Zealand, and of course I've been to a lot of almost every state, I think. But I guess if I could pin it to one thing, it's building in a rhythm and a consistency. One of the enemies of homeschooling is chaos, right? And just the problem of, oh no, we've got a new issue and this kid is sick, or we got to do that and we're going to do that. And so anchor onto a few really key things, like, family devotions, right? Reading out loud to the kids, memorizing good stuff. And just try to lock onto a few things that you can be consistent with, even amidst the chaos of life. And that, I think, helps people feel, hey, we're continuing, we're successful. We're not blown about, we're not buffeted by the world around us. We've got these few key important anchors.
Love it.
And those might be different for different families.
Love it.
But
well, no, that's great. I think, that applies to our walk with God too, right? Joshua 1:8-9. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you'll be prosperous and successful. I think Matthew 6:33. Seek first His kingdom. So that's a biblical principle as well, to have some anchor points. Romans 12, I think, pray unceasingly, or like, always be praying and stuff.
Right.
So I think that's definitely a biblical principle, and that's great to apply that to our academic life as well.
Well, biblical truth usually works in schooling. It works in business. It should work in politics.
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir.
So yeah, I think the extrapolation of an application of wisdom, wasn't that the thing? Get wisdom first.
That's right.
Right, and then
right.
Everything else comes.
Proverbs 4:7. That's right.
And so I've been reading these interesting Jewish folk tales recently.
Okay.
I started reading them to my grandson, who's 5, and I'm going to use some of them for source text in some new product. But it's interesting how that Jewish culture, it's all about having the wisdom, and Solomon plays in some of these fantastical stories too. He was like a fairy tale King Arthur legend for the Jewish people. But I'm always struck by how the stories that they told were reinforcing the choices that we make. And that's all we really have is time.
That's great.
Right? It's our only asset, and the only way we use time is we make a choice. We can do this or we can do that.
That's right.
Or we can do something else, but we can't do everything.
That's right.
And so I think having those few anchors, making priorities, and then just don't get overwhelmed. Just don't let the chaos of it.
Okay, so that briefs well. Okay, and I hear you. But I feel like so many homeschool moms and families are there. So when you say that, how do they do that? How do you implement the principle of not getting overwhelmed?
That's a tough one. I'm not sure I have an easy answer to that. I do think planning, is very important. We, over the years, not with perfect consistency, but I would say enough to have made a difference, tried to have a regular family meeting in a formal way.
Okay.
Right? And we're going to start with a prayer, and then we're going to go through this list of things. We're going to go over everybody's schedule. Then there's a time everyone can, complain formally about something they're not happy with.
Okay.
And then I kept the notes from 1 week to the next. And so I'd say, okay, well, last week you complained that Julia was leaving junk in your room. Now, is that improved? Hey, great, it's improved. Fantastic. All right, good job. Oh, no, it's not improved. Okay, what can we do now, Julia, to help you? And just that kind of running the family a little bit like a business.
Oh.
Not from we have to make money idea,
Sure.
but we have to be organized and communicate rather than everything happening on the fly. So I think if I were to go back in time, well, I wouldn't even have to go back in time. I just have to ask my wife.
Right.
What
Sure.
were the best things that I did as a dad? She would say, you read to the kids as often as you could, and you did that meeting, and everything went better when we had regular meetings. So It's just an idea.
And that was weekly?
Yeah, we tried to do it. I mean,
Okay.
we would pick Sunday night because that was the night I was most likely to be home, every week. But it wouldn't have to be.
Sure.
And then we usually have like some ice cream or something. So after we got through all the discussion and debate and decisions and unhappiness and happiness, then there was ice cream.
That's great. And did you have an agenda?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And did it last maybe an hour or 30 minutes, 2 hours?
Well, it could have gone as short as 15 or 20 minutes. It could have gone longer. If people have a lot to complain about, or if the week's schedule is particularly. But what happens, especially when you get teenagers, is they start to get their own ideas of what they want to do.
Right.
And so they make a plan, or they want to do this, but they don't think, I need to be sure to get mom to know far enough in advance so she can get me to where I need to go.
Right.
So she doesn't schedule herself for something, and then I can't do what I want to do. So I think for training, for cultivating good communication, especially as the kids got into the teenage years, that formal meeting was a lot better than that, hey, remember, Mom, I got to go somewhere, 4 o'clock Thursday. Well, Mom's in the middle of, changing a diaper, or she's in the middle of something else. She's not storing that bit of information properly. But if it's okay, shut down, no distractions, everybody got their calendar, let's be sure there's no conflict.
That's great.
It goes a lot smoother.
That's great. Last question. So 30 years, looking back 30 years, would you do anything differently?
Oh, yeah. Do lot differently.
A couple of them.
I guess probably the biggest thing, and it kind of it was kind of a blindside, but I guess if I could go back, the most significant thing is I would not have put wireless in my home when I moved to Oklahoma. Because in California, we just had, a table with a bunch of computers hardwired in. If you want the internet, that's where it is. As soon as we moved to Oklahoma, now, okay, we're just giving you wireless. We didn't even ask for it. It was just there. And then pretty soon, it's like, it's hard to regulate and control and monitor, and I would just go back and suffer the inconvenience myself, and just say, hey, it's all right here in this room, and this is where we do computer stuff, and then we can just close the door on it.
Right,
but
sure.
I think a lot of parents, I guess the one thing I would say, you may not go to that extreme. It may not even be an option anymore. But I will say, in terms of kids and technology, any ground you give, any privilege, any device, you'll never get it back. You can't go backwards in terms of technology. So err on the side of being conservative in terms of empowering kids with technology. And maybe they'll read more books too.
That's great. That's awesome. Great. Well, thank you. Hopefully that's I encourage you guys, put a thought or comment of what you got from the interview in the chat log. It'd be super duper. God bless you all.